Ankit will share a case study how one of his clients generated 168,000 US dollars in revenue in a single day through email marketing.
So yeah, before Black Friday, the job is to be done before the Black Friday itself, right? If you want to do everything during the Black Friday, I'm sorry, but you've already lost the race.
So let's say, 7 figures or lower 8-figure brands, purely to see, no retail outlets. What do you typically see? What percentage of their top line revenue comes from email marketing? So people know a little bit if they are below that range or if they're above that. Could you share anything about those percentages?
Healthy range is anywhere from.
So in today's session, we will cover retention and email marketing. We have a very special guest, Ankit Podell, founder and CEO of 360 Funnels. He has helped over 75 D2C brands globally generate over 45 million US dollars in e-commerce revenue through retention and email marketing. Ankit, did I introduce you correctly or did I miss anything important?
Yes, it's perfect.
Awesome. Welcome, Ankit.
Yeah, you
I
having me.
think, yeah, great that you took the time during this busy season to come on our podcast. I mean, we met on Affiliate World, right, in Dubai earlier this
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Are you going to the upcoming one in Bangkok in a few weeks?
yeah. I'm actually hosting an event in Bangkok, so it's gonna be a e-commerce gathering for like 7 or 8 figure guys. We're gonna have drinks, we're gonna have food, we're gonna have cigars. But yeah, if anyone's watching and they want to join, you can like find the link on my Instagram. So yeah. How
Oh,
about
that's
you? Are you?
so you are organizing like a side event next to Affiliate World?
Yeah,
Oh, that's super cool. So that's for merchants. Perhaps we can also include the link to it in the description below if that works for you.
yeah.
I think that's super cool for merchants if they are there. Yeah, so I will be there as well. I was supposed to get a speaking slot, or at least I had one call with the organization,
Mhm.
but I didn't hear back. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'm still going. If I get the speaker slot, it will be amazing. Otherwise, I'm just there to connect and also see you in person, I guess. But yeah, we can definitely leave the link then for the side event there. For the
Yeah.
people who don't know Affiliate World, it's a global marketing conference, right? So you can learn a lot about media buying, digital marketing, e-commerce. And yeah, Ankit is organizing side events for merchants. So that's awesome. Super cool. Yeah, maybe for the audience, Ankit, who don't know you yet, maybe you could share a little bit more about yourself. How and specifically what would be super interesting, right? How did you decide to start your own email marketing agency in the e-commerce space?
So when I was in COVID, so during the COVID period, I just completed my high school. And I was like looking at digital marketing here and there. I was getting this digital garage from Google. And there was this one channel where everyone was not giving attention to. So many people were doing SEO, meta ads, Google ads, but there was this one channel, email marketing, that was like kind of like a blue ocean. So I was like, okay, cool, let me have a look at this. And I got into the rabbit hole, and even my TikTok feed started showing about email marketing. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So I started learning about email marketing in September of 2021. And I initially started my first agency, which is 360 Mails, in February of 2022. Got our first client in January 2022. And from there, we have worked with over, I think like it's over 80 plus brands. I need to update the numbers. It's probably anything about $60 million at this point. But yeah, there's that. And right now, our next phase is we're working with an agency and rebranding ourselves into Market 33 Media. But basically, that's how I got into email marketing. But apart from that, learning from people, learning from people on Twitter, LinkedIn, building my own email marketing Discord with over 900 plus people, including a bunch of 7, 8, 9 figure guys. Also, that's like slowly I started about this. And as I went in the rabbit hole, I learned, I implemented, clients saw results. That's how it went.
Yeah, super cool. And so, but you specially focus on email and SMS marketing, right? Or does your agency also offer any other services besides those?
Yeah, our primary is email SMS, but we also do Google Ads, advertorials, listicles, and all those cold traffic copywriting as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. And most of your clients are in the US, UK, Asia. Where would you say most of the businesses you work with are located?
Um, I
Or
mean,
not located, in which countries do they sell?
yeah, most of them sell in the US, or like almost all of them. A few in the EU and Australia, but
Yeah,
most of them sell in the US itself.
yeah. Those are kind of the markets you always see, right? I think US, UK, Canada, Australia. And I guess US is definitely the biggest and, in my opinion, the best market to sell in.
Yeah,
Um, Okay, super interesting. Then let's maybe just dive right into the content. What I want to do is just briefly walk through the different topics so the audience knows what we will be covering in today's session, and then we just dive right in. So what Ankit and me wanted to do is bring as much value to you guys as possible, and really practical and elements which you can directly implement into your business, right? So you can basically improve your business after listening to this session. So I will just briefly walk through the different parts which we will cover, and then we will just dive right in. So we will start with the email marketing fundamentals, right, where we basically discuss some of the most important KPIs, what percentage of revenue should be coming from email marketing, click rates, open rates, those kind of good stuff. Then we will talk about the email marketing setup, which is an exact, well, essentially step-by-step blueprint playbook, which Ankit will share in combination with some of his own frameworks, which will improve your business. Then we will cover Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? We are well into Q4. I'm sure all of you are already running your offers, but we have Black Friday coming up next week. So we'll spend a few minutes there. How to cut Klaviyo costs, right? We all know how expensive they are. So we'll basically share, or Ankit will share, how to be more efficient when managing your Klaviyo account. Email take rate, so how to improve and increase your lists. Email and SMS marketing. And then at the end, in my opinion, the most interesting part, Ankit will share a case study, how one of his clients generated 168,000 US dollars in revenue in a single day through email marketing with a system called Hype Email Drop, which he essentially created himself in order to generate the amount of revenue that I just mentioned. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to stick until the end because Ankit will share this case study. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So let's dive right in. Let's go through holistically. So basically, we start a bit on the top, email marketing fundamentals. What would be super interesting, Ankit, is, right, email marketing is a very important channel for D2C brands. Just to put a bit of context, how much percent of revenue should a D2C brand drive from email marketing? I know it's a broad question, so let me specify a little bit. I know that if you go into the higher 8 figures and 9 figure ranges, it becomes very opaque. So let's say, 7 figures or lower 8 figure brands, purely D2C, no retail outlets. What do you typically see? What percentage of their top line revenue comes from email marketing? So people know a little bit if they are below that range or if they're above that. Could you share anything about those percentages?
yeah. So in terms of D2C as well, a few things. So let's say we're just taking in consideration that they're selling through their website and not through Amazon. Because if they're selling through Amazon, it's going to be relatively harder to track in terms of the Klaviyo or any other channels that there are softwares that the brands are using. But the healthy range is anywhere from 20% to 35, 36, or anywhere below 40%. Now, below 20%, it means that something is not clicking and there can be something done, like additions of flows, sending more campaigns, sending to more broader people. But if the email revenue crosses that 40% range, it means that the acquisition channels aren't performing that great. Now, if you're looking from an email marketing point of view or like email marketing agency's point of view, it's good because like you're getting 45, 50% revenue with emails. But from a business health point of view, it doesn't make sense to go over that 40%. And I wouldn't recommend to just strive for that 40% and always like focus on using the money that you made from emails as profit to put back into acquisition and driving new traffic. But yeah, 20 to 40% is the range.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if you cross or go beyond 40%, you have a bit of an acquisition problem. You should be driving more sales through paid or any other channels, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think still that's quite in my opinion, astonishing that so much percent of revenue comes from email marketing, right? I mean, what you're saying is a range from 20 to 40%, right? I mean, that's huge, right? I think when I was running my D2C brand, we were at around 10%, maybe 15%. So that's definitely, if someone is listening to this session and they're at 10, 15%, you're saying confidently there's a lot of room to improve and move towards 20 to 30% in revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Um, and look, I mean, obviously it's important, right? Just by listening to this, right? 30% of revenue. So that naturally says already how important email marketing is. But are there any other reasons why email marketing is so important for D2C brands besides just like generating more revenue, right? In terms of economics or operations, why would you say should every brand invest a lot in email marketing? And why do you say is it so important?
Yeah. So the biggest advantage of emails or like collecting emails is the security. So when you're using Meta, when you're using Google, when you're using TikTok, you don't actually own your accounts, you are renting them. And let's say you get zucked, that's it. Your account goes, your ad account gets shut down, you get DMCA'd or sorry, yeah, and your GMC, gets shut down. But with emails, you own the list. No one can take it away from you, right? So that is a channel that you own that gives you the security and the stability. And also another part is when you're sending emails, it's more personal than just a standard ad. When people see ad, it's like it's meant for everyone, so people know that it's an ad. But when they see an email, if you can write it in a way that feels personal, it builds that loyalty with the brand. Another one is it's very cheap. So email marketing has one of the highest ROIs in total marketing. So $1 in is roughly around $32 out. So an average of 32x ROI. So when you're diversifying that apart from revenue, that is like major things. But with emails, you can build a base of loyal customers. You can have multiple touch points based on data on what kind of offers, what kind of products to sell to what kind of people. And that just makes the marketing so much more relevant, increasing your average order value and lifetime value, which ultimately increases the profit as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think what you're saying, right? That security, like having your own list and knowing that whenever you run a campaign, you make your revenue, that brings just more stability into your business, right? And I think also just from a competition perspective, right? Because if all other people, I mean, D2C is just a competitive space, right? And if all the other ones are nailing email marketing, they can eventually also spend more on acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's why retention is so important to fix your back end of your business. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, let's maybe talk a little bit KPIs and benchmarks. Um, can you share? This could also vary from niche to niche, but like if KPIs, right? The ones I know, open rates, click-through rates. Maybe there are other fews which are super important. Could you share kind of some of the most important KPIs and also benchmark then where you would say, okay, this is a healthy number, so the audience knows if they're below or above that, and they can kind of benchmark themselves.
Yeah. So let's start with the delivery rate. So it means that how many profiles are actually receiving the emails. So it could be around 98%. Anything above 98% is like good. Open rates, like you should always strive for anything over 30, 33%, 35%. With click rates, it's a bit of a, everyone has a different opinions. And personally for me, with flows, anything above that 2% is good based on the flows. But with campaigns, most people you'll talk to will tell you, hey, the higher the click rate, it's better. But I don't think that. I think the healthy click rate is around 0.2% to 1.5%. Now, I personally don't prefer to scale the click rate to above 1.5 because what you're doing is you're optimizing for the metrics and not the revenue. When you have now, obviously you can get 10% click rate, 8% to a very small, very engaged number of people. But we all know that the more people you sell to, the more money you can make. So we segment in a way that's relatively broad, where we're not focusing on the metrics like open rates and click rates or other stuff, but we're primarily focusing on the revenue. So anything around that is like a good metric. So in terms of place order, I mean, it like there's like big variation in terms of the place order rate because it depends on if it's a sales campaign, if it's a value campaign, if you're promoting products or not. So I wouldn't consider that as much. Revenue is the main thing. Unsubscribe rate, relatively below 1%. Spam complaint rate below 1%. But yeah, those would be the main metrics.
So what you are saying is the click-through rate, you don't want it to surpass 1.5% because you look at the revenue as the main KPI. Did I understand it correctly? What is the exact reason why a higher click-through rate might not correlate with higher revenue?
Yeah. So let's say, I mean, when you're having a really high click-through rate, now obviously for some campaigns the click-through rate is going to be high, but it just means that you're not sending to enough people. It means
Ah,
that you're optimizing for metrics, which doesn't pay the bills, and sacrificing volume, which will make you more revenue. So that is the thing.
okay, okay, makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, we will get a little bit on volume also in the section where we talk about Klaviyo cost, because that's kind of the issue when you have too large lists that the expenses kind of skyrocket. But we will get to that later. But that makes sense. What we will do is we will summarize those KPIs, which you just mentioned nicely in the report as well, which you can access through a link in the description below. So yeah, that makes sense. Then what we'll do now is kind of go into the email marketing setup. So this is essentially kind of a step-by-step playbook for brands on how to implement and structure their email marketing infrastructure, right? Look, Ankit, from what I understand, right, and my knowledge about email marketing specifically isn't that extensive, but from what I know from the past running my own D2C is you have campaigns, right, which are basically one-off email blasts, and then you have flows, which are basically email flows which go out automatically using a trigger, which triggers that email flow to go out. If a client would come to you and they don't have any flows set up, what would be the most important flows every brand should have? And then maybe also a few flows which are a bit less obvious, which still drive significant value. So the audience can check if they have all those flows in place.
So the major flows would be the welcome series, the abandoned checkout, the abandoned cart, browse abandonment, post-purchase upsell, cross-sell. So those are the core flows. But apart from that, there's like a flow called site abandonment. So this flow is triggered when someone visits, let's say, the collections page, the home page, but they don't view the product. Right. So that is for the site abandonment, and then you have the sunset flow, which removes the people who haven't engaged, cleaning your list automatically. Then you have the winback flow that is sent to people who bought, but they haven't bought recently. So like, hey, we miss you, come back buy again, kind of that kind of angle. Then we have the replenishment flow. So let's say if you're buying products that have a lifetime age of, let's say, if you're buying, let's say a shampoo, which you use for 30 days before it's over. So on the 20th day, you
Yeah.
get an reminding you to replenish the shampoo. So that's the replenishment flow. Then you have multi-product cross-sell flow. So if you bought one product, you'll be crossing other products. VIP flow, which if someone has bought twice or thrice, you get a different offer. Yeah, this was a flow.
Yeah. So quite a few interesting flows there. So you can already see how much in detail you can go with email marketing, right? So what you were saying, one thing which we cannot cover all of them very much in detail because we will run out of time, but a few interesting points you said: browse abandonment. So someone would visit a collection but would not click on the PDP. Then
No. Browse abandonment is for those who visited the PDP but didn't add to cart. Site abandonment is for people who visited the collections or home but didn't go to the PDP.
Okay, that makes sense. So site abandonment. And then what you do is basically you adjust those flows for that behavior, right? So the flow would
Yeah.
then essentially the copywriting and the content of the email would be tailored to that specific behavior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. Um, is cart abandonment the flow which drives the most revenue, or which would you say is the flow which drives the most revenue for merchants?
It depends because obviously, let's say you have two separate stores. So one store has a added to cart rate of 11%, start a checkout of 8%, and place order of 1%. So there's a big deviation between reach checkout and auto pay. There are more people to target compared to, let's say, second store, which has an added to cart rate of 4%, start a checkout 2%, place order 1%. Now there aren't a lot of people to work with. So in this case, second store, where the numbers are relatively closer, those that might make the most revenue is site and browser management because we are dealing with around 90 to 94% of people who haven't added a cart or place order. But with the second store, now obviously the second store also has a lot of people who didn't add to cart or start a checkout, but we have the number is higher and the intent of those people is relatively higher. The conversion rate also is higher for those people. So it depends on how many people are in which stage of the funnel and what is the intent behind it. But normally it's yeah, cart, checkout, or browse abandonment.
So in that order, so
Yeah.
cart abandonment most, and then you said site abandonment.
It's not in order. It just depends on different brands based on how their like Shopify metrics are looking.
Okay, okay, makes sense, makes sense. I mean, okay, look, so what you're saying, it depends on how many people complete that flow, right? So
Yep.
obviously, if you have a very high add to cart rate, but then people don't convert, then your cart abandonment would generate more revenue
Yep.
versus, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, Look, maybe this is also kind of an interesting section to share some of the frameworks which 360 funnels, and you are essentially the architect of those frameworks. Because we're talking now on how to best set up your email marketing infrastructure, right? Could you share a bit more about those frameworks? I mean, I think we have four here. Let's see how long it takes to explain all of them. So just share about us what those frameworks are and
Mhm.
how that could help to improve your email infrastructure in order to drive more revenue for your D2C brand.
Gotcha. So the frameworks that we use is number one is the behavioral purchase metric, the value first automation engine, the premium position protocol, and the profit protection algorithm. So the behavioral purchase metric is simply we want to target people before they're ready to buy. So we use Klaviyo's data of predictive analysis to create flows that targets people before they're ready to buy. So based on your order history, based on your behavior, purchase behavior, Klaviyo estimates that you might place order between these and these dates. Now we want to send maximum number of touch points during these dates, right? So before they're ready to buy. So that's like what we do with the behavioral purchase metrics. The value first automation is basically instead of just sell, 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 sell angle, we first want to understand what awareness level people are. So are they the product aware? Are they solution aware? What is their intent level? Based off of that, we provide them educational content apart from selling as well. And basically, we provide them the value first and then sell, which relatively works really well. And then we have the premium position protocol. Now, obviously, different brands have different positioning needs. Some are, let's say, some want to portray themselves as premium, some want to portray them as fast fashion or something like that. So, based on requirements, we have custom systems that is like applied to their brand and just fits their positioning needs. So let's say if it's a brand that's like more premium, then our copywriting, our design systems, our messaging, our offers needs meet matches that position need. And if it's let's say a brand that's like relatively fast fashion, that's like they want to position them as affordable, then we have different. So it's like positioning them with branding, with copy and everything that we take care of. And then we have the profit protection algorithm. So what most people don't realize is that with emails, they just focus on right? They just focus on top line. But the strength of email lies in bottom line. with profit. The way that we can optimize it is by increasing number one, average order value, and number two, purchase frequency. And average order value times purchase frequency is basically the lifetime value. So we help with bundles, we help with offers that um, increase the average order value of the store, alongside helping people become turning first-time buyers into second-time, third-time, fourth-time buyers, increase the purchase frequency, which increases the lifetime value and increases the profit margin as well.
Yeah, super interesting. Um, that makes a lot of sense. I think if you kind of follow those frameworks, then you already have a healthy infrastructure, and also, well, it's already part also from on the copywriting and everything related in the emails, right?
Yeah.
So what was quite interesting, you said, and it's part of the behavior purchase metrics. So Klaviyo has purchase intent data, so they can essentially tell you how likely it is and when the customer is most likely to buy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I didn't know that. Is that something new, or has Klaviyo always had that?
Klaviyo has always had that, like, like 2 years or so, but most people don't utilize it,
Use it.
and like this big gap.
Yeah, yeah, super interesting. Um, Perfect. Then, quick question on blasting campaigns, because a lot of merchants, they just blast your email list, right? Um, However, that might not be the best strategy, right? I think Klaviyo, you can dissect and segment very granularly. What are some of these segmentations which you implement in order to, yeah, avoid just generic, email blasting and have more personalized emails?
So number one, with the segmentation, it depends on the volume of the list, the size of the list. So if the list is below 15,000, we don't segment that much, just segmentation based on the engagement. If it's higher, then we just segment based on leads. So let's say if a store has 1,000 lists, all our normal segments are engaged 30 days. So people that have either clicked our emails in the last 30 days, engaged 60 days, engaged 120 days, recent buyers, active on site people, just those people. Because obviously we won't be having that many people to send to if you're like hyper segment. But if the list goes on and list size is higher, and we include things like engagement based on product, purchase history based on product. So if you have bought product A, we can cross-sell you product B based on how recent did you start a checkout or view the product. That basically shows how your intent, all those stuff, and also people who have, let's say, viewed the product but they didn't buy. Let's say they uh, people who have, let's say, bought multiple times. So all those multiple segments is used, but mainly to track on the segmentation is bounce rate. So that's the bounce rate means you send them email but they don't receive it because, let's say, their email inbox is full or their email doesn't exist. And if the bounce rate is higher, then there's a higher chance that your emails are going to go to spam, and we don't want that. And another part is open rates as well. So if you're spending and it's below 35%, you might need to make the segment smaller and more engaged, because if you keep on sending to a higher list with less engagement, your brand is actually going to go to spam.
Yeah. So this already shows a bit that you can go in depth as much as you want, right? You can actually put so many time into this in order to further optimize it. Obviously, the bigger the list, the more you can do.
Yeah.
But you can granularly tailor your email marketing for every specific situation, right? And just have groups, and then tailor your strategies based on those groups. Super interesting. Then maybe quickly on personalization. I mean, we all know that Klaviyo has those triggers, but I think a lot of merchants just stick to adding, I don't know, the first name into the subject line, or they start obviously with the first name. But there's a lot more opportunity to personalize in Klaviyo, right? Could you share some of those most important personalization tricks which merchants can implement to increase their email marketing performance?
So probably the most personalized is the dynamic block. So let's say you view a product, you add the product to cart, you start checkout. There's this personalization that shows you the product that you either viewed or started checkout. So those are the dynamic blocks that can be used. Apart from that, you have custom triggers like, let's say, first name, obviously. Then you have your purchase uh, order value. Then you have the location. You could have the birthday. All those stuff. It depends on how you want to personalize it, but mostly personalization can be done heavily with automations because you have more data points to actually use compared to campaigns. But yet, those are a few that you can obviously launch. But the dynamic blocks are probably the biggest one.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, the more you personalize, the better. Is that kind of a rule which every merchant could take,
Mhm.
right? Um, okay, interesting. So we covered the frameworks. There may be a bit more specific in terms of timing calendar wise, right? We are in Q4. Again, most of you guys are running your Black Friday and Cyber Monday offers, and it's probably one of the best times to run your email marketing campaigns, right? At least from how much revenue you can generate, and just I think all the KPIs look better during the season. Timeline wise, what do you typically recommend to your clients on when to start their Black Friday campaigns in terms of like when it comes to a date, right? Because we always see each year people start earlier to kind of capitalize on that early on and early on. What would you say is kind of a good time to start your Black Friday offer? Or at least what do you see with most of the brands you work with?
Yeah, I think when you're running early, don't make it like early for everyone. I mean, obviously, early Black Friday also works really well. I think Icon Amsterdam just hit that $1.5 million I saw on Sam Malanua's story with early Black Friday offer. And there are a bunch of other brands that are doing this. So that can be done as well. But it depends on how you do it. If you just like throw it like random day, like, hey, here's early Black Friday, it's not going to convert. So with emails and during these sales days, the biggest factor that will determine if your campaigns are going to be performing good or not is the hype that you build. So you basically have to get people into this buying mode before the sale is already live. So think of it as movie trailers. Whenever a movie is dropping, they don't just drop a movie and say, "Hey, like here's our movie." They have a bunch of trailers. They have promotional events before the movie, and if you treat it that way, it's going to do well. So even if you're running early Black Friday, which is like really good, we're also doing for a bunch of our clients. Always have a 7 to 14 day window where you're just hyping them for that sale. And after you run the sale, exclude the buyers, right? Exclude the people who bought from
Yeah.
the sale, and sell, like have an additional offer to people who didn't buy after like 24 hours. So those are the few things. With Black Friday as well, you could do that. There are like a few things that you can run, like create a custom list of VIP people. When you have the limited stock, those kind of thing. But early is good. I wouldn't prefer running late Black Friday because obviously the purchasing power is going to go to zero after Black Friday. So early is good.
Yeah, at the end, there's no money left in the wallets anymore after already spending on the other brands which started early. So you definitely don't want to miss out, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is kind of warming up your audience through email marketing. So you send a few campaigns in advance, sharing that your Black Friday offer will start in a few weeks. Is that kind of what you recommend for brands to do, so that when the campaign starts, people know about it and then the conversion goes up?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, there was one other thing which I want to say regarding what you just mentioned. So Black Friday, but okay, I lost it. So we move on to the next one then. Look, during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's super competitive, right? I mean, all the inboxes of consumers are flooded with all the offers which all the brands are running. What are some of the ways how you could differentiate yourself, maybe from a subject line perspective, or whatever else is there in order to optimize for those crowded moments like Black Friday?
Yeah. So yeah, before Black Friday, the job is to be done before the Black Friday itself, right? If you want to do everything during the Black Friday, I'm sorry, but you've already lost the race. So this is where hype building comes in, right? So when everyone is trying to sell on Black Friday day itself, you can't compete if you don't have any branding left. So you want to start building that hype. You want to have people look for your name on those crowded inboxes before the Black Friday itself. So you give them a time. Hey, this is what we're dropping. Hey, this is the new product that we're dropping. We're dropping on this time. these are the amount of stock that we have. So if it's over, that's it, it's gone, right? And when you do that, people will obviously search for your brand. People will open your brand more, and it's not just the magic of subject line, right? It doesn't matter if you could get like a 90% off Black Friday if no one trusts or knows your brand, right? So that's the thing. And another part is always before Black Friday, have a warm up process for your inbox because your emails are only going to convert if people actually see them. If the emails are going to spam, that's it. No one sees your emails. And deliverability is the main concern during the Black Friday. So before a month, now it's probably too late by the time this podcast is posted, but we preferably recommend 1 month before the Black Friday to start warming up things.
So start warming up your domains 1 month prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one more time for timing wise. So I understand you want to hype, right? And I think this will be also a part of the case study, which we'll share at the end. But what is kind of the timing where most, I'm not sure if I missed that part. So Black Friday, right, is on the 28th, right, of November. Is it, do most brands start their discounts like 2 weeks before that, 1 month before that, 2 months, like when the actual offer starts? Um, do you know that?
I mean, this is like a this varies according to different brands. To be honest,
Okay.
some people just want to run launch it like a month ago. Some people, you might have seen the memes on LinkedIn as well. Some people might just launch it like 1 week ago. So it definitely depends on the brand. I wouldn't say it's like a one size fits all,
Okay.
but just testing over the years, testing the pattern would be the best option.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Then one thing which I think when I was running my D2C brand, right on Black Friday itself and Cyber Monday, those are kind of the peak days, right? Where conversion, in my opinion, is still the highest. I mean, obviously you want to start early with your offers, but those
Mhm.
2 days are still huge. How many campaigns do you send out on Black Friday itself and Cyber Monday? Is it like only one campaign or do you send multiple?
We preferably send three. So one during the morning, one during the afternoon, and one during the evening. And we make the contents different. So for morning, it's probably sent 9 to 10 a.m. ish, where we have a timer. It's pretty simple. Like, hey, this is the sale, these are the products, these are the stocks. That's it. Make it simple, right? Afternoon around 1 to 2 p.m. We have like a second reminder, so it could be from 1 to 4 p.m. So it's somewhere around that based on sweet spot. Is basically like half of the stock is gone. Like here's the offer. This is still running. Just stay on top of the head, stay on top of the inbox, and then 7 p.m. or 6 or 7 p.m. we send a plain text message from founder saying that hey, there's only 7 stocks left, and we don't want you to miss out. Um, and the reason that we won't make it text is because it has a higher chance of going to inbox compared to designed emails because designed emails are heavier.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Designed emails, right, is just more likely to go into other folders, right?
Yeah.
Oh, super interesting. And I like that urgency element, right? So I think on Black Friday you should definitely use urgency the most, right? Low on stock, and that's basically what will drive. That makes sense. So 3 emails.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think anything beyond that is you're probably not capitalizing that much more, right? You already reached the people. Um, if you think about it, 3 emails on one single day sounds a lot, but it's really recommended, right? Because people get
Yeah.
so many emails and you otherwise kind of leave money on the table if you do less.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Um, then let's talk quickly on Klaviyo cost, right? Because I do remember actually at some point I did move from Klaviyo to a company called Send in Blue. They rebranded now to Bravo, and the reason
Mhm.
was actually because Klaviyo was so expensive.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, obviously, I think if you optimize a lot for email and you drive significant revenue, then that might change. But I'm sure that a lot of people in the audience have quite significant. Um,
Sorry. Yeah.
no worries. Do you need to take that or
No, no, I'm just gonna text him.
okay?
Yeah, we've got.
Um, yeah. So right, what I was saying is basically I think a lot of people in the audience they have probably high monthly Klaviyo cost, right? So what are some of the ways people can optimize their Klaviyo cost and be more efficient in their email marketing?
Yes. So the first thing is to just number one, keep cleaning your lists regularly. Remove the people who haven't opened your emails, who haven't visited your site recently. So 90, 120 days, in the last 120 days, let's just remove them, suppress them. Then have a sunset flow, which basically um, automatically suppresses the people who don't engage. So the trigger is set to if they haven't opened your or clicked your emails in the last 9 days, 120 days, based on the requirement, they get an email asking that if they want to unsubscribe or anything. So those two are the best practices, and every 3 weeks or every month, that is like manual suppression of a list is also recommended. But if you just do that, you can just save a lot in Klaviyo.
So what you were saying is 90 days, no engagement, so no clicks, no opens, then you would kind of remove people from the list. What's
Yeah, 90 or 120. I mean, it depends upon the brands. So, and also if they haven't like actively like been browsing the site, or they haven't been active on the site, they haven't like made recent purchases, those guys.
okay, makes sense. And you can automate that in Klaviyo, so you don't need to clean that manually. You just automate it based on a trigger, and then they get removed automatically.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, what's also interesting, actually, we do have a Klaviyo integration as well. So if you're using Influencer Hero, what you can actually do is you can identify influencers in your Klaviyo lists. And those are typically more engaged influencers because they already know your brand, right? Because they sign up on your newsletter. So they are very likely to work with you. So actually in Influencer, you can check that and you can reach out to them. So we do have a Klaviyo integration as well. But let's move on to email take rate, because I think this is probably the part where you can make the biggest difference in terms of optimizing your emails, essentially in terms of audience size, right? Like how big your lists are. Um, Maybe first start with some KPIs. What is a good email take rate, right? Based on traffic, website visitors to email take rate. What kind of percentages? Because I think back then I was, no, I'll let you answer that question. What is kind of a good email take rate so people know if they're below or above that?
Anything above 5% is good. That is what I recommend. Sometimes, like after like optimizing here and there, you will see there are times when you have over 20% of opt-in rate as well. But heavily depends on the traffic as well. But anything above 5% is good.
You have brands which have a, or how on earth do you get above 20% opt-in rate?
So what we do is like we pivot from just like here's a discount, give your email, into like a quiz funnel kind of thing. So on the pop-up, they tell us what the problem is, like a few problems. Based off of there, we give them like let's say the recommendation. We give them not only just a discount, but also an ebook, or let's say something like a value or lead magnet, right? So when they're getting things for free and not just the discount, I mean obviously the discount is also there, but the free ebook as well, the opt-in rate is much higher.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you kind of add like an info product into it, which obviously for the merchant has maybe a one-time cost to create it, and then you give that away for free in exchange for the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in combination with a discount. And so you, yeah, I remember back then we also used the quiz, actually a quiz app. It was a Shopify app. I can link the app to that quiz, which we used in the description. But what it was just and for skincare products, I think it's great. But also, if you have any product which is a bit more complicated, people can fill out a questionnaire, and then a product will be recommended. Is that something you sometimes use as well, or is that something which you don't see often nowadays?
Yeah, that's like similar thing that we do. But we use Klaviyo or we use a tool called Alia.
Okay, and that's an app which can where you can create those questions, and then people can fill it out, and then at the end you have the CTA, which is the email take.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, Okay, so yeah, there was actually one of the questions regarding you have all kinds of strategies, right? You have pop-ups, you have spinning wheels, you have quizzes. I think you already mentioned, I think what you said before was like a combination of like a quiz.
Mhm.
Any other strategies? And I can also expect that it might differ from brand to brand where you use something else to improve the email take rate.
Yeah. So apart from email take rate, I would also heavily recommend testing the quality because When you're using something that's a spin wheel, the take rate is much higher, but the quality of people is like very bad. So you're just having like dead list on your platform that you're paying extra for. So those things. But apart from opt-in rate, I think the intent matters, because let's say you have 1,000 people, and out of those, only two people are willing to buy. It's not a good list. You're only paying more for Klaviyo, right? But if you have 100 people and let's say 20 of them are willing to buy, then you have a good list. And the latter one is the one that you should focus on building.
Okay, that makes sense. So spinning wheels is not always the way you want to go.
I personally, I hate spinning wheels. I
Yeah,
hate spinning wheels.
me too. I think it gives a very immature impression, in my opinion. But I do see it every now and then. So I was just curious. But yeah, I agree. Numbers are not just numbers, right? So a huge list doesn't mean it's a good list. And obviously, the intent is much lower because they're just people who want like free stuff, perhaps, instead of actually having buying intent. Um, Email marketing versus SMS. Again, let's start top of funnel. What percentage split do you typically see in terms of revenue coming from email versus SMS?
Somewhere around 80/20.
80/20. Okay. Yeah. So 80% email, 20% SMS.
Yeah, but it depends on the brand. But normally, like it's 80/20, it's 30/70, somewhere on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is people might see that there's like more revenue coming from SMS compared to emails, but in most cases, it's just that the emails revenue is being attributed to SMS. So the attribution issue is also there, but normal is like 80/20 range.
Yeah, obviously because you send an SMS to the same person who's also receives an email, so attribution is sometimes a bit skewed there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Well, so in that case, actually, SMS is important, right? So would you always recommend for merchants to have SMS in their funnel?
Yeah, 100% every time.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And then I think actually one question on that. I think when someone places an order, you can ask for the phone number.
Mhm.
Um, Perhaps also with cart abandonment, right? Because they enter the phone number, then they don't check out. So you have that phone number. How
Mhm.
is that with privacy? Because I knew back then it was a bit of an issue where people needed to actively opt in. Is that the case with SMS, or could you do it just with email, where if someone fills it out, you already add them to the list? Anything you could share on that?
No, I think the best option would be to just get, like you mentioned, that there's a text block when you're there, opt in for SMS. That this will be used for marketing purposes, but I wouldn't recommend like just um, deceiving people to get their SMS, because the lawsuits are going to be heavy.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, but is it that the checkbox is filled out per default? Is that fine, or do the people actively need to click on the checkbox? Or maybe that's too specific.
Um, I mean, it depends on the brand. Some have already pre-ticked, but yeah, like I said, it's a legal thing.
Yeah,
So I personally would recommend to allow people to choose it themselves.
yeah.
But most brands, they're like, hey, it's okay. Like I mean, everything is okay until you get hit with $100,000 lawsuit. So
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference because if it's defaultedly checked, right, the opt-in rate is very high, and
yeah.
because people need to actively remove it, and active opt-in is actually lowers it quite significantly. But I do agree. I mean, let's better to be safe, or I think it's the merchant's decision how to structure that. Um, just because we have also a lot of other agency owners which listen to this podcast, who might want to start their own agency or they work in a B2B space. Ankit, could you share maybe a little bit? So this is not for D2C, but for your own agency, what your main customer acquisition channel is? Is it mainly word of mouth because you're doing a great job, or do you have also additional channels in order to acquire new customers?
So it's big. Our biggest is word of mouth and the community. So I have a Discord community where I post values about email marketing. I post stuff and people like it, and they're like, "Hey, I want to work with you." So those two are the main things. I recently started running ads, but we just like testing it. I'm not like full scale, but 95% of our clients are coming from either inbound or like word of mouth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you're big on Discord, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you also have like weekly or monthly kind of sessions where you bring the community together, or is it just mainly the community where people can share and you share case studies and those kind of things
Yeah, so I have a premium section as well where we do calls every 2 weeks. But for normal, we I like do like a value session like once a month or so.
once a month? Yeah. Okay, interesting. Um, then I think we finally got to the point where, in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting parts. We touched based on it a little bit, right, with hype creation. But you have an amazing case study. You were able to generate 168,000 US dollars in a single day through email marketing, through hype building. Just kind of walk us through this case study. I'm not sure if you're able to mention the name of the client, but perhaps the niche, the context, and then how you were able to generate 168,000 US dollars in a single day through email marketing.
Yeah, so basically this niche is in fashion. And what we did was like a month before Black Friday, had the clients to run lead ads. So basically, ads where like you're using a Meta's instant form, where you're sending people to a separate sign up page where they just sign up for the VIP, and we had collected leads at like $1 a lead or so, and we were just sending so many emails, teasers, the drops and everything, the hype, just building hype for the new drop, the new launches for a month. So we did that, and on the Black Friday, so day before Black Friday, we launched it for the VIP, so people who signed up the emails, and on the Black Friday, we launched it for people like other people with like a different product, right? So we ran those, and within 24 hours, um, we had sent around emails, three or two or three SMS, and yeah, or in the course of 24 hours, we had the revenue of 163,000, or six, sorry, 68,000.
Amazing. So you sent 7 emails and 3 SMS in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it because this was like a specific scenario where you increased the hype so long, where 7 emails would make more sense? Because I think previously we said 3 emails on Black Friday, but in this case, because you increased hype so long, you doubled it to 7.
No, what we did was we sent to different people. So one were buyers, one were non-buyers, one were VIPs, one were non-VIPs. So like one segment was receiving probably one or two emails at most,
Yeah.
but we were sending multiple emails to multiple different people so that it wouldn't, be spamming to them.
Okay, that makes sense. And what you were saying before is you guys were running ads with the main objective to have people opt into a post or a pre-Black Friday kind of lead magnet kind of thing. So you would
Yeah.
basically spend ad spend to build up that list. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think that's a very innovative way, which I haven't heard of before. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think, well, the results are astonishing. 160K day in a single day through email marketing. So that's amazing. Um, I think you had also a video on this case study or a written one, which I can maybe also include in the description if that's okay for you.
Yeah.
And then I think that's pretty much it for today.
Mhm.
Maybe one closing question, which we ask all the guests: any book or podcast which you would recommend for any founder or non-founder in the audience?
So the book I would recommend Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi.
Yeah.
And also like I'll honestly recommend two. One of the one is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martel. So it's more of an operational thing. And the podcast, so this is recent podcast that I started listening to, which is called Open Residency.